Thanks for your company. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Let's now settle for the details. And Ghana's ability to secure more funding and borrow from the International Monetary Fund in the coming months has given a major boost. This was after the Executive Board approved a proposal to increase the allocation to members by 50%. George Yafe has more.
The IMF quota can be linked to the voice, the power that each member has within the group, or its ability to draw down on IMF resources. It could also be linked to how much a member country can contribute to the IMF. The quota influences the special drawing rights of each member in terms of the amount of money that that country can get from the IMF. Ghana recently secured $3 billion as part of the IMF program. However, some raised questions about the amount that Ghana got. But for some, it is all about this quota. So with this development, if Ghana in future gets another program, it should be able to get more funding from the IMF. If the IMF decides to share some profits or support some of its members, including Ghana, the country could get more funding from the IMF. But looking at the country's current debt levels, should we be excited about this development, and should Ghana take advantage of this to borrow more when the opportunity presents itself? The IMF board is expected to meet on November 22 to approve the second tranche of funds of $600 million. That is, if Ghana is able to secure the financing assurance from its bilateral creditors.
All right, so let's now talk about the 2024 budget. And the Joy Business Pre-Budget Thought Leadership Forum is set to come off on Monday, November 13, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. This edition will focus on examining government's fiscal policies as against revenue mobilization targets and the risk of budget overruns in an election year. More details in the following reports.
The speakers include the Director of ISE, Professor Peter Quote, banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahine, CEO of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mark Bedu Abuaje, and convener of the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum, Senyo Hosi. The rest of the panel are economist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Japoma Jake Dako, financial and investment consultant David Tete, and former finance minister Seth Tekpe. The program will be moderated by George Yafe and Benjamin Akakbo.
And we do know the Joy Business Pre-Budget Thought Leadership Forum, as you rightly heard, will be coming off on Monday, November 13. Do make a date, and of course, stay tuned in on all our social media platforms, and of course, on Joy News as well as on radio. Now, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association says it is expecting a direct policy on housing in the 2024 budget to support the operations of businesses. According to its president, Patrick Ebubomfo, reduction of taxes on cost of building materials should be considered. He says the association is also working to address challenges affecting pricing within the sector. Mr. Bomfo spoke to Joy Business at a symposium.
Well, the challenges emanate from, I think some of the members shared. Issues with financing, issues with land acquisition, and land litigation, etc. I think I said this thing somewhere. Statistics showed that more than 33% of members of GRADA are in one court or the other because of land litigation. We want to use what I just mentioned, the vehicle, to address such issues. And so going forward, we can address one, financing, two, issues about property acquisition and title, security in title. So we want to use these vehicles to address some of these challenges. On the side of government and policy, I think that in the past there have been various policies. First was tax breaks, once you are a real estate developer, 5 years, you don't pay corporate tax. But all of those things have now come and gone. And currently where we are is we are working with the government in terms of policy and formulation. And so we share, we share the table with government on several platforms, not just direct government, but even quasi-government institutions, where we share ideas, and we are on boards and committees here and there to help form the policies that will help us make the industry strong and better, for us to also contribute meaningfully to the economy.
All right, let's have a discussion with the association, and its Executive Secretary Samuel Amegaibo joins us via phone for a discussion on this ahead of the 2024 budget. Samuel, thanks so much, sir, for joining me on Business Live. Now, when you call for a direct policy on housing in the 2024 budget to support the operations of businesses, really, what exactly do you mean?
Thank you, and good afternoon to your viewers. It's unfortunate that I can't come on Zoom Live. Anyway, I've heard some of the comments that came from my president, and it is on point in the sense that in the real estate business, there are mainly two sides that you look at, the demand side and the supply side. Each of them have its own peculiar situations and must be addressed accordingly. So if you look at the supply side, it has to do with what developers or property suppliers go through to be able to put properties on the market for us to be able to afford and buy. And then the demand side has to do with the buyers who have to find some kind of financing, mortgages, and other means to procure some of these properties. And each of them have its own peculiar situation. So we expect that there will be some statements in this direction to make specific pronouncements to ensure that the budget address at least some of the issues to make it easy for housing to be continued to be supplied. So if you look at things like mortgage, for example, interest rate is very high, making it difficult for people to afford mortgage. So we believe that the government engages the banking sector, we will realize that we may have some laudable ideas in terms of supporting interest rates for mortgage financing, for example. If you ask government today to subsidize anything, it will be difficult. But it shouldn't be difficult for government to make direct, specific interventions to reduce certain rates for mortgage financing only, to make specific pronouncements in that direction. Then, if you look at the previous budget that have been made, you realize that for the past 4 years or so, you will not hear any specific budget allocation made in the budget to support housing. The last time we heard anything substantial and significant was when there was something made available for affordable mortgage that was being managed at the Ministry of Finance. And that was at the pilot stage. It is a very laudable intervention that we think that government should have continued or should look for funding to continue to provide that, because it had a component for construction financing, at the same time a component for mortgage financing for the public sector. So if there is adequate funding, for example, pumped in this area, and they open it up for every Ghanaian to access, it will go a long way to assist would-be property owners to get, take advantage of the situation and benefit from it. And when it comes to land bank, you realize that government has been talking about making available land bank, but we are not seeing much. It is because to obtain land bank, you must have some funding to pay for compensations for the land owners. And in this area, we are not sure what is going on, and it is important that we also hear something significantly being allocated to address this one as well.
Exactly, and I'm looking forward to also knowing, you telling me more about the cost of building materials, which of course keeps increasing by the day, thereby increasing the cost of building, not to talk about rent, etc. How best do you think should the 2024 budget again address these hurdles in the built and construction industry?
As you put it, and my president put it, he made mention of the high in building materials. And because we are over foreign dependent, it means that cost of the product itself on the international market, which has gone high, and then the cost of wheat by the importers, they tell you that it has also quadrupled in terms of the cost they incur to bring this materials in. And then I keep saying that most of these materials come in at some governments also take certain taxes. And some of these taxes are a percentage of the cost of the product as it arrives into the country. So if the prices are already high and feed costs are high, and you add these two costs and government takes a percentage of that cost, it means that government itself is also benefiting from these high prices. So maybe government can look at the taxes which is which can be internally controlled. As for international market going up, you can't do much. As for freight going high, you can't do much. But the taxes that we slap in addition to all this wahala we face in bringing this material, it's an area that government can look at. So that maybe instead of the percentage of the prices, meaning tax component, they can look at it and put a very small or marginal fixed rate on it, so that at least the burden is not as heavy as we see today.
Mr. Megaibo, let's be realistic here. Which of the taxes are you looking at?
That is why I'm saying that, unfortunately, I don't have a figures with me. But I'm saying that if you are importing a material and the government starts to pay 10% of that item, and let's say the item is 100 cities, because the price has gone up from 100 cities to 150, and government is charging 10% of the 150, it means that government is also now taking 15 cities. So why shouldn't government take up that 5 cities that we have paid because of international price and freight cost, and maintain the old price at a fixed rate instead of a percentage component of the material that we are talking about?
All right. Thank you very much, Samuel Amegaibo. He is the Executive Secretary of GRADA, speaking to us ahead of the 2024 budget presentation. And of course, we are aware sometime next week, Wednesday, that should happen. You're still watching Business Live. More after this break. Has gone by was the Joy Business Van. Let's continue with some other stories we have for you. Senior Manager at KPMG, Julius Aivo, has underscored the need for businesses experiencing financial difficulties to undergo haircuts to ensure a turnaround for their businesses. According to him, having a haircut would provide businesses with the opportunity to restructure their operations and focus on improving profitability. He was speaking at Garia Week Seminar and Workshop. The Ghana Association of Restructuring and Insolvency Advisors Seminar and Workshop focused on leveraging debt restructuring and turning crisis into opportunity and growth for businesses. Many businesses over the years have been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war. In an interview with Joy Business, Senior Manager at KPMG, Julius Aivo, said it is prudent for businesses faced with financial difficulties to undergo haircuts.
The general principle is that to be a sustainable business, I'm looking at business both from a private and a government point of view. To be sustainable, your debt has to be at levels that you can pay as and when they mature. And the approach could be diverse. And of course, the one that is getting a haircut would definitely be at some losing end. However, when you look at it on a global basis, it may be more beneficial to the person. So for instance, let's look at a business that is struggling and has creditors that owe the business so much, all right? And has creditors that the business owes so much. If you don't accept a haircut, you may even end up losing the entire of the amount that you are owed. So sometimes haircuts are extremely important, because when haircuts are given, it gives the business enough space. The people in the public sector will tell you fiscal space, to be able to operate, to breathe. You can just imagine having, as an individual, having a debt burden on you. You can even die out of it.
President of the Ghana Association of Restructuring and Insolvency Advisors, Felix Ado, added that despite the challenges faced by businesses, they must re-strategize to sustain their operations.
For a business, yes, we have these challenges from, in fact, the bigger global environment. You mentioned the Hamas war. Yes, we have that. We also have the tightening of supply chains and all. Okay, so every business has to take a hard look at its supply chain, again, relationships, as we talked about in the earlier presentation, and see what impacts. You need to do a diagnostic of your business operations and see what impact this environment, the global environment, and our local environment have on your operations. Based on that, you look at your objectives, and within that, you strategize as to how best to attain your objectives within the constraints currently facing us. Okay. But of course, government creates the enabling environment. Within that, you as a business also have to look at the part you play, that little space you occupy, and see how best within your industry, all right, see how best you can also seize the opportunity and turn things around and forge ahead. Because as a business, you have to be sustainable. As the first presenter, Julius, said, if your business is not growing, you are going into extinct status. You become dinosaurs very soon. But you want to be sustainable within your business space. And so, yes, you have to look at yourself and see within the framework government gives you the enabling environment, how best you can forge ahead.
Garia earlier unveiled its journal, which is poised to play a pivotal role in shaping the future of Ghana's corporate insolvency and restructuring landscape.
Thanks for your company. I am Pius Kojo Baka. See you tomorrow.